Hi, Dr. Taylor. This is Nick Frazier. I'll flip my camera around so you can see me real quick. Hi. It's nice to meet you finally in a face-to-face environment. Unfortunately, my laptop computer is being weird with my webcam, so I'm going to use the other option and do my presentation with all my data and stuff just through the camera. Here we go. So inflation. So we had to define inflation. So to me, inflation is the perpetuating price and growth of price level of goods and services. So fairly straightforward in terms of definition. One of the biggest misconceptions that I've noticed about inflation is prices rising is not always inflation. Because if a price rises on one good but not other ones, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's inflation. It could be for that specific market, but it also may not be. So as I said in the third part, inflation is when multiple different items from different disciplines rise in price at the same time. So I gave the example of if the price of makeup rises and the price of a grocery, like food item, like bananas, also rises, that usually is an indicator of inflation in some regard. So that's my interpretation of what inflation is. Tariffs. So tariffs is a tax that varies in size that is imposed by a country to influence the growth of a product. So purely for imports, it can be also done to raise possible revenue and protect certain governments from monopolizing on a certain product and getting a bigger advantage from others due to the cost of the product. So tariffs are also kind of used to level out the playing field in a way for some countries. Like if a country has a higher tariff, another country may match it or lower it. And it also depends on what the country needs in terms of buying for that good. I also saw something, and I kind of liked this. It's how governments deal with trading partners that they may disagree with. So if tariffs need to be made for a government or a group that is not very favorable, governments, when trading, will just talk through tariffs. So I think that's kind of interesting. So we had to bring up an unemployment rate, or an inflation rate, excuse me, from the Fred website. So I found this one, a 10-year break-even inflation rate. And I think it's kind of fascinating to me because the highest point, and I'll move just a little bit so you can see, highest point is in 2022. It's in I would say June, maybe May of 2022. I found that very interesting because given where we are now as a country, if we go back over here to 2026, it's considerably lower, which I think is interesting because, in 2022, I was not where I was now, obviously, and probably not as independent with money. So I was not aware of inflation during that time. Yeah, I thought it was fascinating. Even though it's from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, it's for everything. So I really thought it was interesting that we peaked over in 3, almost to 3.1, but in 2026, it's almost uncomparable. So I thought that was very, very interesting, and that was a really cool finding of mine when I found this 10-year breakdown. This one, I apologize in advance. The tariff rates that I found, I put them into a table in the Excel sheet and I modified them, but then getting them into the slides was the hard part. So I did find 15 countries. I put the United States at the top just so I could give a decent baseline. And then I put 15 countries below that, and then all of their numbers over here from 1988 to 2022. There weren't any rates for after 2022. For some reason, 2025 and 4 and 3 were not available in the ones that I found. And some of the cool things that I noticed here was, again, the United States was not nearly as high as I was expecting. For instance, Uzbekistan, and let me see if I can. Uzbekistan and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, if I can find it. Yeah, these two, in 1936, we had 21 And at the time, the U.S. it was just 4.4. So just those massive increases in price, I thought were incredibly interesting, even though they were so long ago. And then even today, 13 in 2022, and we have 2.7. So I think that is also a testament to the different styles of government and the different leaders that are in power during that time, to try to enact tariffs and how seriously they're taking tariffs. I thought that was incredibly interesting as well. So how are we addressing inflation? So I think I wrote at the bottom here, it's gotten worse over the last couple of years because of a lot of political turmoil between our country and other countries and decision making in that regard. So really, they're tightening money at the reserve level. There are a lot of supply and demand conflicts with all of this. So when they're calculating supply and demand and putting those into inflation and tariffs and unemployment, all of those things, it's really doing it to address all those things and tightening the money. And they're using more actual economic data now. I feel like they kind of strayed away for a little while, and now they're using the CPI and PCEs to track inflation as accurately as possible. And PCE inflation tracking is the main form. And it's doing a pretty good job so far. I don't like personally where inflation is headed. I can't imagine a lot of people are. But they're doing as much as they can to track it accurately and give us the kind of reassurance that we need, and for companies and all that stuff who inflation is really affecting them, to give us the best sense of where we are and where we're going and how we can possibly remedy some of this. So thank you. Sorry for the impromptu presentation style, but thank you, and I hope you enjoy. All right, so this is the interview for my project. This is a neighbor of mine and a close family friend, Andrew. So tell a little bit about what your job title is in your organization and what you do on a day-to-day basis.
So I've worked for a company called Capital Building Supply. I've been there for 28 years, so I'm kind of new at it.
Yeah.
We take building material and we put it where commercial contractors want it. So, for instance, if you're doing a build out on a floor of a skyscraper, or here in DC we don't have skyscrapers, but we might be taking it to the 5th or 6th floor.
Yeah.
We'll put it on a lift, or we'll put it on a boom truck, and we'll put it where you want it.
Gotcha.
So it saves your labor, it saves your people to do. You're paying someone a lot of money to be a finisher. We're paying our people to put material where you want it.
Cool.
So my job is, I'm the sales rep, and my job is to negotiate, try to get the most for our customers service-wise, providing the best service. We understand that we're worth a little bit more,
Right.
so we ask for a premium.
Yeah.
So my job is basically relationship management.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually didn't know exactly what you did. My mother told me this morning. She was like, yeah, I know he works in construction. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Not many people do.
Yeah.
Who knew that existed?
Right. Yeah. So, how has inflation affected your daily life? Just outside of work. We'll get to that in a second, but just your daily life in general.
So for me, the biggest factor is I do a fair amount of travel. So the cost of our flights have gone up significantly for us personally driving around. I travel a lot in the area, so I pay a premium for fuel. I think it was $4.49 was the highest it was, and I was used to paying, $3.30, $3.40. Yeah. So that was a pretty significant struggle as far as just changing that. I can't let that impact my life because I still have a job to do.
Right.
But you certainly feel it when you go and fill up and it's $16 or $18 more.
Right. Yeah. I feel like, I don't know. It's a very, not an open-ended question, but it's very kind of.
That's the easiest. That's the easiest answer. As far as when I take clients to dinner or to lunches, or we go golfing, or we do different events, things are so much more expensive now than they used to be.
Yeah. So how have these rising prices, because of inflation, how have they affected your business operations? So now.
So for us, I was talking about what we do. So we
Yeah.
take material and we put it places. So we use mostly diesel vehicles, and the cost of fuel has risen. In addition to using the diesel vehicles, all of our people come from different places to do that.
Right.
To go to the main distribution center, whatever it is, to get in their vehicles. So we sometimes will pay a stipend for those people
Yeah.
if they're coming out of town or wherever they're having to go. We'll cover some of those costs. So the cost of fuel directly impacts our world in
Right.
delivery trucks and the different vehicles that we have. So we're actually adding, because we tend to be the tip of the spear in the cost of what we do for our industry, is we're actually asking for a premium on fuel. We'll put a fuel surcharge on those deliveries because we end up delivering pallets of water to job sites,
Right.
and it costs us more money to make that delivery than it does for the actual sale of the pallet of water.
Right. Yeah.
So now we have to ask for a premium for those deliveries.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that
yeah.
impacts, frustrates our customers, and impacts us that way.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, what adjustments or shifts have you made, if any, to figure out and possibly cope with inflation and or tariffs?
So for us, again, being a leader in there, we're a little bit more conservative when it comes to taking risks.
Yeah.
And I can tell you personally, there was a project that we had, and this is for before. I have to be careful not getting too political.
That's all right.
But the president said that he was going to put tariffs on everything in all of the different countries.
Yeah.
And the majority of the products that we buy are sourced here in America, but there are some of the metal products, aluminum products are brought in. And so we took a chance on, we're not going to mark up our products. So we didn't mark it up, and then we get stung because they might get hit with tariffs, or we were getting charged extra because they were concerned about, well, then it didn't happen. So we're risking. So we lost a job. It was a $6 million project.
Yeah.
And we lost it by 20% because the president had said, we're going to put a tariff on those products.
Yeah.
Well, my competition was taking the chance that, the president won't do that. Is afraid to what the political impact will be, what the blowback will be. So we're still not going to take that kind of risk on those things. We have to be careful, and I think that's where the political uncertainty of someone who is a rudderless boat has been frustrating for us.
Right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So kind of shifting gears.
Sure.
What are your I'm excited for this question. What are your own personal thoughts on AI in the workplace?
So, as we've talked before a little bit about this, in my world, it's a relationship-driven business.
Right.
So the time that we have together that we can spend talking about the projects. I was with customers yesterday afternoon, and we were sitting around watching a little bit of the World Cup, and we're talking about upcoming projects and things that they can do. And there are ways, we call it VEing, value engineering.
Right.
It's not something that AI can actually do.
Right. Yeah.
It can't help build the relationship.
Right.
So I understand that for us, our relationship is that.
Right.
The other thing AI can't do is it can't drive the vehicle yet.
Right.
But it can't manage a boom truck to put material in where it is, because it's all about the touch.
Right.
And you can't carry, AI can't carry material and put it where you want it.
Yeah.
AI also can't work with the nuances of what the safety director will say. You can't put that here because there's an electrical box. And there are things that AI can't describe.
Right.
The other the other issue is anything that is computer automated now, they say, well, that's AI, but that's not exactly true.
Right, exactly.
Computers have been in the workplace for a long time. And people are like, well, it knows the computer, the printer will tell you when you need to reorder ink. Well, that's been around for a long time.
Right, exactly.
That's not something that we're concerned about.
Yeah.
Will it help us maybe a little bit more efficiently, figure out the order of where we do the business based on traffic.
Yeah.
Is that something that we could have done with Waze in the past and understanding that we know where Bethesda is in
Right.
relation
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Manassas? Certainly, we have locations all around the metro area.
Right.
So, does it help in that regard? It can help it. It can be a little bit more efficient.
Right.
But in our world right now, it just doesn't, it hasn't really applied to us yet.
Yeah.
Again, our business is a relationship business and a physical business where people are interacting with people,
Right.
and people are carrying things and moving things
Right.
around and driving
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
So, what does that look like in the long term for us? I'm not that concerned about it yet. I'm
Yeah.
not that concerned about it taking away people's jobs,
Yeah.
but that's where we are at this point.
Yeah, and I think it's different for everyone because it's at a very like uncertain point for a lot of different companies.
Sure.
Like for instance, my mom in the hospitality industry,
Sure.
you know, she works for she works for Hilton, you know that. But uh, they have basically taken a stand and been like, we don't want AI to like
Sure.
control the company and do
Sure.
stuff. But they are then also having seminars about how to responsibly use AI.
Sure.
So they're kind of using a double-edged sword
Sure.
and just kind of,
And,
using it and
and again, I'm sorry to interrupt you. And again,
no,
people are labeling something AI that might have been around for generations,
exactly.
but it's like, well, it's more efficient and it's using a computer, therefore it's AI. Well, that's not exactly true.
Right.
So I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, no, you're all good.
And for me, with my children, I have three children. One who's getting her PhD at Cambridge on human machine learning. It's part of the computer science program,
Right.
and she's been involved in that her whole life. So for her, this is very real.
Right.
I have a child that is in the arts, in performance arts, writing, directing,
Yeah.
and theirs is a very, it's all about creativity.
Right.
That, and you and I have talked about that. You're involved in music,
Yeah.
and in the arts. AI can produce something, but it has no soul.
Yeah.
So that's part of that.
It's very basic.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. It's something that I would appreciate as someone who's not involved in the theory of music or of the arts. I say I wouldn't notice. You certainly can tell the difference.
Yeah.
And then my youngest is a third year in college, and she's in economics, and she's talking about these same issues and these same questions
Right.
about how this will impact her and her workplace and
Yeah,
how
yeah,
that and how that goes.
Yeah.
So,
And then last question, because you kind of answered two of the questions I was going to
Okay.
ask, but this might be kind of repeating the same question.
Sure,
but
sure.
Does AI have a similar or different role and impact in your overall industry compared to some other ones?
like I said earlier, it's probably not. It doesn't feel like it's going to have that big of an impact on us right now. It tends to be a more physical world in which we live. And again, I go back to more relationship building. It can help us, like I mentioned earlier, in maybe some of the efficiencies. I do see that in some of our manufacturers where it certainly will help them in their efficiencies. The making of the product is one thing, but knowing how to label and ship and organize their distribution
Yeah.
will certainly help that.
Yeah.
And I see it in our contractors where they're able to, they can see most everything, but maybe a computer can say, well, this might be a different option, something you may have not thought about.
Right.
The majority of the time, our people are engineers, architects, designers. They know what they're talking about.
Right.
They've done this a lot.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think I think there's a fear that computers are going to be ruling the world, and that's not a real concern. There's a movie probably 15 years ago called Wall-E. I don't know if you remember that one. And it's a horrible story of people just becoming giant fat people that can't walk, so they just float around on chairs. I don't think we're anywhere near that right now. I think it can certainly help us, but I don't think we have to worry about the computer taking over the world.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's, and we've said this before. It's still still developing,
Sure.
and I feel like there are some people who are like, it's fine, and maybe they should be a little bit concerned.
Sure.
And then there are some people who are on the complete opposite side who are like, we're all gonna die. It's gonna be like the Terminator. It's gonna take over the world. And
Yeah.
I don't think we're there yet, and I don't think we will ever get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I don't think
So,
so either.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Thanks for your time.
Of course, yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.